Following verse 34 in Jesus' discussion of discipleship in terms of taking up your cross, we now find out what that cross-bearing life looks like. The Greek's pretty straightforward, but there are a couple of interesting variants here. Haskar eon thele, tein psuchein autou, sosai apolese autein. Hastean apolese tein psuchein. I don't know about you, but I keep finding that word hard to pronounce. Anyway, tein psuchein autou, henikin emu kai tu euangeliou, sose autein. So let's start, first of all, by identifying the main indicative verbs. It is what? It is will lose and will save, right? There's your two main verbs. What is the subject of apolesai? It's that whole relative clause, isn't it? And what's the subject of sose? It's that relative clause. So then the direct objects are the autein, autein. That should help figure out how to do this verse. For whoever, and just because gar's in the middle doesn't change the meaning of haseon. It's for whoever wants to save his soul. Then what's apolesai? Well, it's obviously a compound, right? You got the apol there, and then you have a lambda and a vowel. And then if you just see the sigma epsilon iota, what is that? Well, it's a third person singular future, isn't it? So when do you have a verb that's a lambda and a single vowel? Well, this is why you learn the roots. It's apolumi, right? And the double lambda only occurs in the present. You don't get double lambdas elsewhere. So this is the future of apolumi. So whoever wishes to save his soul will lose it. And then whoever, and this is really interesting. What's this verb? Well, it's apolumi again, but can you parse it? Well, it is a, yes, third person singular future, but what mood? But it's an indicative, isn't it? What's, in a sense, wrong with it being an indicative? You're following alpha nu. Here, you had the indication that you're in the subjunctive, and this verb is in the subjunctive. Here you have an alpha nu followed by an indicative, which is very unusual. It explains one of the interesting variants in this particular passage, because some of the manuscripts have apolese. What's that? Well, the 8 is the clue that you've shifted into the subjunctive. And so what some scribe is doing is correcting what he perceives to be the incorrect grammar of the indicative there. But it's obviously a correction, so we know that it was a later change. The other interesting variant, I should mention it, is the variant for autou. Some manuscripts replace it with hey autou, which is, in a sense, what the autou means, right? Whoever wishes to save his own soul. So they're just making that reflexive sense that's there in the context clear, but nonetheless an interesting change. But again, they illustrate why you never talk about variance without talking about significance. Those are two changes that have no effect on the meaning of the verse. So, critical difference. So anyway, back to translation. So whoever will lose his soul, and now there's an added clarification, on behalf of me. And Henikin is looks like a verb, doesn't it? But it's a preposition. It's on behalf of me and on behalf of the gospel. So it's a preposition taking the genitive. Half of me and the kingdom will save it. I think phrasing here helps, and so I'm actually going to put the verb on its own line. And then you have punctuation. You have a prepositional phrase. And then you have the verb. But once again, you have the two main thoughts is you will lose it or you will save it, right? And I don't normally do this, but I think I'm just going to indent this first line and this line as well, because I really want the verbs to stand out. And then you have this prepositional phrase, and it's a compound phrase. So if you wanted to, you could do something like that to make it really clear that whoever will lose his soul on behalf of me and on behalf of the kingdom, that person will save it.